Well, howdy folks, Dimitri here, and today we're going to look at blog number 5, the G major scale. So now we really get to start applying some of the things that we've talked about. We've talked about half steps and whole steps and tetra-chords and the gold standard of the C major scale and how all of the notes are not of equal distance. Some are and some are not. But today we actually get to apply it and use the blank circle on the Jamboard, or, from the printed copies of the blog series to apply what we've learned about the C major scale and see if we can actually build some scales, okay? So let's get started. Blog number 5, the G major scale. Objectives. Number 1, understand how to build the G major scale. Number 2, recognize the notes in the first major tetrachord. Number 3, recognize the notes in the second major tetrachord. Number 4, understand the structure of the major scale. There are 2 parts to building a scale. Number 1, place all the natural notes on the blank circle in your workbook. And this is your blank circle. You can see we've lost the letters that we had on the natural notes. Just 12 dots. Using the natural notes circle in your workbook, adjust the placement of the notes on the blank circle to produce the correct scale structure. That seems like a lot. Let me say it again. Using the natural notes circle in your workbook, adjust the placement of the notes on the blank circle to produce the correct scale structure. And we'll go through all of that today. Today we will build the G major scale. The construction of the scale starts by placing the tonic by the dot at 10 o'clock. Keep the natural note circle close to reference the gold standard. So I think what I want to do is we're going to scroll through. There's our natural notes again. So probably want to copy that. Give you the website address. Okay, so now here's our blank circle. I don't know if I can paste that there. I guess I can. Good. Okay, and then I don't know if you can see it up here, but you can somewhat see the structure of that natural note circle where we have a note at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So that first major tetrachord, and then we have another chord here at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock before we return back to 10 o'clock. So our goal is to start with G at 10 o'clock and then make the notes in G match this form so that we have these little half steps where we want them. We're going to do that today, okay? The construction of the scale starts by placing the tonic by the dot at 10 o'clock. Keep the natural note circle close as a reference to reference the gold standard. Essential elements. Tonic is the name of the scale. Clockwise is higher on the circle. We're going up the scale. Counterclockwise is lower on the circle, going down the scale. 2 dots is a whole step, and 1 dot is a half step. Always move clockwise on the circle to measure an interval from the lower note to the higher. When measuring an interval, we are asking how many dots. All the dots on the circle are half steps. Note placement, number 1, note placement. Begin writing on your blank circle here. So here we go. Beginning with the blank circle in your workbook. This is your blank circle, and this is at the end of the blog series, or if you get involved with me at the website here, dimitri4.com, we'll get you one of these Google Jamboards, and I can actually watch what you're doing and help you with that, okay? So beginning with a blank circle in your workbook, place the letter G, tonic, because we're working a G major scale, at 10 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, take me a little post-it note, put a G, save that, and there we go. So now I have a G note, and I'm going to place that at 10 o'clock. All right, the interval between G and A is a whole step, so we will place A at 12 o'clock. So let's see, we'll take this, I have to edit it and make it an A. So there's A at 12 o'clock. Let's see, The interval between A and B is a whole step. We will place B at 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock is blank. So we come over here at 2 o'clock, make that into a B. Pretty fun. All right. The interval between B and C is a half step. We will place C at 3 o'clock. So all we're doing is we're placing the natural notes in order on the circle, but instead of starting with C, which is the gold standard, we're going to try to make the G match the gold standard, okay? So there's the first four. The first four notes in the scale, let me get these out of the way. The first four notes in the scale are G, A, B, and C. Not too bad. Forward we go. Okay, the next note is D. The notes C to D are a whole step. We place D at 5 o'clock and 4 o'clock is blank. So the distance between C and D is a whole step. So I'll come down here and make this D. There we go. Looking good. The notes D and E are a whole step. We'll place E at 7 o'clock and 6 o'clock is blank. 7 o'clock. And this is going to be E. There we go. Let's see, the notes E to F are a half step. We'll place F at 8 o'clock. All right. So I can already see that we have a problem with the structure because this little half step here isn't where it belongs, okay? But we know that E and F is a half step because if we look up here, E and F are sitting next to each other. So that's the first part. We started with G at the tonic. The tonic's at 10 o'clock. Whoops, I don't want that. Let's make this 10 o'clock. So I guess it's pretty obvious, just like any clock. Start with the tonic, which is whatever key we're starting with. Today we decided to do the G scale. We can make that note any note we want. And then we're going to place that so that it matches the natural note circle. We see C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F is a half step, F to G is a whole step, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, and B to C is a half step. This is our gold standard. These are our natural notes. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to make this what we call the tonic, where in this little circle up here, C is the tonic. So in a C major scale, C is at 10 o'clock. In a G major scale, G is at 10 o'clock. All right. After placing all the natural notes on the blank circle, we must realign them to fit the structure of the gold standard. Neither the tonic, which is at 10 o'clock, nor the natural notes can move from their positions. So I can't move any of these notes because the distance between these notes never changes. These are constant, okay? So neither the tonic nor the natural notes can move from their position. Therefore, to make necessary adjustments, replace the natural notes that are out of position with their relatively altered notes. Okay, so we're going to adjustments replace the natural notes that are out of position with their relatively altered notes. Remember, the natural notes are the 7 dots with the letter names on the natural notes circle in your workbook. So let me come back here and just show you that. So here's our natural notes circle. We worked on that in the first 2 or 3 blogs, 2, 3, and 4, okay? Super important. This is our gold standard, okay? So this distance between these notes never changes. That is a constant, okay? What we can change is what key we're in. And we're going to do that by changing the letter at 10 o'clock. But if we want this major scale structure, then all the notes have to match this spacing of 2 major tetrachords, 1, 2 major tetrachords separated by a whole step is what forms that major scale. So we can see here that we have some issues we have to solve, okay? So the natural notes are placed. Altered notes are the 5 blank dots on the natural note circle. These altered notes are called chromatic. So here are those blank dots, okay? And that's what makes this the Demi-Circle of music so amazing is that you can sit there and see, okay, well, that blank dot probably needs a note on it. And so we'll see if we can fix that, okay? Chromatic notes, blank dots, the natural note circle is very helpful in visualizing the relationship of a natural note to its chromatic. A chromatic is a note altered by an accidental. Accidental is the symbol, sharp sign or flat sign, that indicates the altered note is a half step higher or lower than a natural note. A sharp sign indicates the altered note is a half step higher. The flat sign indicates the altered note is a half step lower. Okay, super important to understand. The major scale consists of two major tetrachords separated by a whole step. That's what we're trying to accomplish. We're building major scales, so we need two major tetrachords separated by a whole step. And remember, the major tetrachord has 4 notes in alphabetical order with the structure of a whole step, 2 dots, a whole step, and a half step. Okay? Scale structure. The notes in the first tetrachord, G, A, B, and C, match the same position, scale degrees, as on the natural note circle, 10, 12, 2, and 3. The first tetrachord needs no adjustment. So what we're saying here is that this note at 10 o'clock, A at 12 o'clock, B at 2 o'clock, and C at 3 o'clock match the natural notes in their position. C is at 10 o'clock, D is at 12 o'clock, E is at 2 o'clock, and F is at 3 o'clock. Of course, we start with G and go through the order because this is a C major scale, and today we want something different. We want a G major scale. Okay? So no adjustment is necessary there. That matches that structure that we're looking for. The next step in constructing a major scale is to separate the two major tetrachords by a whole step. For example, the last note of the G major tetrachord, C, is at 3 o'clock. The first note of the next tetrachord, D, is 5 o'clock. The notes C and D are a whole step apart. The separation between the tetrachords needs no adjustment. So we are talking about the fourth note in this tetrachord, which is here, and then the first note of the next tetrachord, which is here. And we can see the separation between those is a whole step. Okay, so no problems there. We're almost all the way through it. Let's see what happens next. So that was page 2, page 3. The second tetrachord starts with D at 5 o'clock. The next note is E at 7 o'clock. So D to E is a whole step. 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We find F at 8 o'clock before returning to G at 10. The distance between E and F is 1 dot, and F and G is 2 dots. So the distances between E and F and G are incorrect for the major tetrachord. For a major tetrachord, the second major tetrachord needs to start at 5 o'clock and have the structure of a whole step, 7 o'clock, a whole step, 9 o'clock, and a half step, 10 o'clock. And we can see that in our natural note circle. 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So we're trying to get that G major scale to match this form, okay? And that's why we're saying this is incorrect, because this F is not where it belongs, okay? We need the altered note at 9 o'clock to give us the correct major tetrachord structure. So we need that note here, and we need this note to get out of here, okay? So let's see, here's where the blank dots on the circle come into play. By placing a sharp sign with the note F, we recognize the blank dot 9 o'clock as F sharp. Replacing the note F with F sharp achieves the gold standard structure and gives us the G major scale. So what we're doing is we need to get rid of F here, and we need to move it here, okay? So to do that, we're going to use what's called a chromatic or an accidental. So to find this note here, we're going to need another post-it, and we're going to add a sharp sign to it. And that tells us that we are here. All right. So now, since I've replaced this one, I'm going to take this one out of here, okay? Because I need one letter, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. I can't double any letters and I can't skip any letters. So now I have that G major scale. You can see I have the tetrachord G, A, B, C, and then I have the tetrachord D, E, F sharp, G. All right. So we see here that we have our second tetrachord, and then we have our first tetrachord. And they are separated by a whole step. G major scale is the G major tetrachord, G, let me get my pointer back, G, A, B, C. The second major tetrachord is the D major tetrachord, D, E, F sharp, G. And both tetrachords are separated by a whole step between C and D. So now you can make several copies of the blank circle in your workbook and try these major scales using the same method. So now you can do the same thing with D major, A major, and E major. Good luck. I'm Dimitri. Visit me at dimitri4.com. Leave me a note. The next blog up, we're going to work on the F major scale. Okay, so in this blog we did the sharp sign, and in F we're actually going to add a flat sign to it, okay? Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.